All right, good morning, guys. We're here together with team members from Go Realty Group. We have Brandon Witt, who is off camera right now from a broken cord, and we have Tevin, who is our amazing ISA, and we have Lee, who is our assistant. So we're going to talk
Guys,
today really quick about the buyer broker agreement. I'm going to head over to Brandon and let him explain this first page that we have open for a second.
so the best way to explain the buyer broker agreement is a Nebraska real estate agent working with a buyer without a signed broker agreement faces a fine up to 5,000 for each incident, according to some resources. Buyer broker agreements are now mandatory in all 50 states, and if any agent doesn't require a buyer to sign this agreement, they are violating a law. And so, one of the main things about this whole agreement is that we are here to represent you, protect you in possibly one of your biggest purchases that you'll make in your life. We are wanting to make sure that with signing this agreement, that you're not feeling like you're obligated to work with us, because there are agents that will have you sign this agreement and they'll have it where we're having to work with them for months out. But if you're not comfortable and you want to make sure that you get to know the agent and you want to at least have a chance to a go to another agent if need be, I then make sure that you talk to an agent about like a day agreement, or something to that extent. Work for a week, see how that works. Because no matter what we want to do is we want to make you as comfortable as possible without making it feel like we are confining you to just us.
I like to equate it to kind of dating. We'd love to be the ones to help you, but if we're not a good match, either way, either one of us can say we're going to move on, move forward. The thing that we chatted about before going on camera was that these buyer agreements are kind of like when you go into a medical facility, the first thing that you have to sign is the HIPAA regulations, you know. And so these agreements just basically lay out for you how Nebraska realtors get paid, especially the buyer's agent side of this. And we actually do have a copy of the buyer's agent that we can kind of run through with you guys and chat with you guys about. Brandon, is there anything that you would add to that?
If anything, not really much more to add to it. I just know that a a lot of people are just uncomfortable with the idea of having to sign with an agent now to even go view a home. The only thing I will say for anyone that is a iffy on signing anything is if you are wanting to go, you can go to open houses and you can go to for sale by owners without having to get an agreement signed. Those ones, they are free for you to basically, you're able to go view them without any sort of contract. So I just want people to know that as well.
I think this is a great segue to talk about what the buyer's broker is. And we're going to go ahead and pull that up now. So, the buyer broker representative agreement, there are four types of properties in that we deal with, and that is residential, commercial, land, and then oftentimes mixed use or other. Um, so, what I tell people is the things that I show them that day, we only get paid when you get the keys. So if you're already working with an agent, if you're already committed to an agent, that agent is who you need to contact to see the houses, because as they help you get the keys to your home, part of that process of them getting paid and getting to know you and what you want is really going through the houses with you, right? So
True.
I don't send my clients direct to listing agents because I want to go through the houses with them or have them go through them with someone on my team so that I can really get some good feedback about, hey, they liked this and hey, they didn't like this, or hey, we saw this at a property that could be problematic. Like they liked the house, but it had foundation issues, or, there's a lot of things that the listing agent's job is to protect the seller. And so, what I always tell my clients is, can you protect the seller and the buyer at the same time? That's not to say that we can't do dual agency in some specialized circumstances, but my job as the seller's agent is to get the seller the highest and best offer for the market,
Hmm.
right? If you're hiring a real estate agent as a seller, you want the most money possible for your home. Okay. If you are working with a real estate agent as a buyer, you want the best deal. You want to beat out the other offers. You want to go ahead and have people take your offer over other offers, right?
True.
So going down, Lee, do you just want to hit on the length of agreement really quick, and then I'll talk about the variations with that really quick?
Like this one.
Yeah. So the length of the agreement can be negotiable. If I have someone who I'm meeting with and we're meeting with, 5 builders, build time can take up to a year. I'm going to put a year in that agreement. However, we're going to hit on a final fact on page 2 that's going to set everybody's mind at ease. If we're looking at existing and it's the first time meeting, then we can really talk about a 1-day agreement. That anything that I show you that day, I'm going to help you with. Beyond that, if we don't like each other, we can part ways. Will you highlight that cancellation clause, please?
Right here.
Yeah. So sometimes you meet someone in person and you feel like you've got a great rapport over the phone, or you feel like you've got a great rapport in general. And then you meet them in person and it's just not working out. It's kind of like a bad date, right? And in that case, you can really cancel the form. So there are policies and procedures to do that. Brandon, I'd love to chat for a minute about cash payments from the buyers. I'd like for you to share your experiences first.
Oh, cash payments?
Yeah, like have you had any buyers that have to pay you out of their own
Uh,
pocket?
no, no, I haven't had anyone that had to pay me out of their own pocket. I mean, truth be told, sometimes they'll buy me dinner or something right after,
Right,
but I mean,
right.
that's not them having to. That's just because
And
they wanted to take me on a date. No, I'm joking. I but no, just I haven't had anything where I had my clients needing to pay me on any sort of
and
spectrum.
have you had any sellers say, I'm no longer going to pay the buyer's agent fee?
I actually did have one, but it was because it was
Okay.
it was brand new, and I do know that they were one of the people that actually heard about the new rule that came into place, and they got the idea that they were going to be able to sell their home for about 1%.
Okay. What
And
happened?
Well, I didn't end up working with them because if we don't have clear communication, I don't know if I don't feel comfortable putting myself in that position. Um, Not saying that I don't stalk them, and I noticed that they haven't put it on the market yet, and this was about 5 months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So, no, but I have ran into a few homes, but they've been, I I would say, small towns. I outside. I went and viewed a home out there in Iowa. I viewed it with another Iowa agent, and she was telling me that, yeah, homes out in, I think it was like Glenwood. I can't remember what the actual area was called, but uh, they were selling their homes for about 1 point, or what was that? I think they were paying like a buyer's agent 1.8.
Okay.
So but I've only noticed it in small town areas.
Yeah. So here's what I've seen is I know that there's a builder in Omaha that has raised their commission for buyers agents up to 4%. And there's another builder in Omaha who has lowered their commission down to 2%. So when that happened, I negotiated direct with my buyer and I matched, they only had to bring under $600 for our transaction that I helped them with. And that was very complicated to work that out with that builder. Building can be a whole different animal. But for the most part, every single listing that I have taken, the sellers have said, yeah, I'll continue to pay for the buyer's agent because it's in the price of the home. That's how it's always been. So, what are some of the top questions that you get, Brandon?
I Is this real?
Yeah,
That's number one.
yeah,
Number two is, of course, people saying that I've never heard of this,
yeah,
and and it's just because it was not given to the public. I think in the most informative way.
yeah,
I Because I remember only seeing it once. I don't watch the news often, but I only saw an article about it, and it wasn't even like one of the main topics that they talked about. It was like in the little line that's at the bottom of the news, and it's like, oh, just let you know, this is the rule. But people look at those as if it's like every single time you see those medical commercials, and then it has that little person at the end that speed talks through all the
yeah,
symptoms.
yeah. I've heard from people, well, other agents haven't made me sign this, right? And here's what I say to those people.
What?
Um 80% of the home sales are done by 20% of the real estate agents that work, okay? And our team, we are in that 20%. And because of that, there's a really high probability that our files are going to be audited, that we are going to be under compliance insurance with the state, meaning that, I know I personally have been shopped before. I've been licensed since 2005. I know I've had, sometimes way back in the day, they would do like a fair housing check, where they'd send you a variety of clientele and see if you treated them differently based on race or color or whatever. And so I've never had an ethics complaint ever. Um, and I think it's very, very important for me because I do this full time, because this is not just a part time gig. Not only do I want to follow the law with the public and make sure that I'm in compliance for the public, but I also want to protect and retain my reputation within the real estate community,
True.
which helps any of my clients, buyers or sellers, when we're negotiating. I've had so many clients over the last couple of years who have won in multiple offer situations, maybe even where they're not the highest and best offer, but they've won because of either terms that we've offered or the reputation. Um, and I think that that's so important. But also, if I can't do my job and follow this one simple little rule, what am I going to mess up in the transaction? Like, what I tell people is this is the second most important decision in your life. The first being who you're going to spend your life with, right? Where you choose to live and where you choose to make such a huge investment is so paramount to everything about your life. And if I can't follow this one little simple thing, such as getting this document signed before showing, I apologize for the background noise. I have a little puppy who's crawling around on the floor. Sorry about that. But if I can't do that, what else am I going to miss? And what is that going to cost my clients? Am I going to be diligent about inspection deadlines? Am I going to be diligent about pulling comparables and knowing what's in the market? Am I going to be diligent about making sure that my clients are not overpaying? Right, Brandon?
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. As always.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm trying to think if there are any other questions that we've gotten from people related to this. I know for myself, I do have what we call a broker admin fee that is on top of the commission that is disclosed. That is the part that the buyer is responsible for. Currently, today, my broker admin fee for buyers is typically $595.
Mine is
Um,
the same.
now that will vary based upon loan program. There are a couple of loan programs that do have restrictions about what can be charged and how much can be charged and those kinds of things. But I also do not charge my buyers, for the most part, 3%, 4% commission. I keep it to what was considered the industry standard before. The exception being if we are looking at new construction and those builders that are offering those incentives. Yeah. Brandon, do you have anything to add with that?
Yeah, I was thinking about charging people 12%. I'm sick of these low numbers.
Right?
But no, I charge the 6% a for anyone that's wanting to sell, and it's typically 2.4% for any buyer, but the buyers don't typically have to take care of that. It's the sellers. So, and of course, depending on situation, depending on a how the whole process is supposed to go, um, it could be lower. I don't think I've gone higher than 6% before, but um, but yeah, it always depends on the situation with the loan programs, or it depending on how they are going to be going about their buying or selling process. But I could name out 50 million different scenarios, but that's the basics.
I agree. My other thing is if you can't present this form in an understandable and equitable way, how are you even going to begin to present the purchase contract, which is 12 pages, right? I mean, Lee, I know you've seen a lot of purchase contracts, and you were
Yeah,
like, that's a lot. There's a
that's a
lot of
lot. You have to read
information
through
in
it.
there. Yeah, there's a lot of data in there. There's a lot of contingencies in there. There's a lot of
And
legalities in there.
and all of these are so small, like because there's so much information, the font they use that they use is so small. And there's some like small hidden stuff within the form that you have to really read through so that you don't get bamboozled by the time that,
Yeah.
eventually.
I will say, and this is the main thing that I'm gonna want to focus on, is when it comes to this agreement, I feel that for anyone that's looking to buy a home, and especially if they come across the podcast and they hear about it, is that if you are planning on working with someone, if they do not show you this agreement before you guys go show homes, because you won't have time to view it, and truth be told, sometimes agents don't have paper copies and they'll want you to sign in person. And a lot of people don't have that great of vision. They're not able to see the small print on a phone.
Yeah.
So they're basically going to be signing on a whim. And my main thing is that if you're going to work with an agent, make sure they send you this in due time or in time for you to be able to view it and understand it.
Yeah,
That way you feel like you're not getting pressured into anything.
yeah, for sure. Well, I know most of the time our podcasts are half an hour, but I feel like we've covered everything. So, unless anyone has anything to add, and I am sorry, this is Hope. She is a Coton de Touleur and she's being a little naughty today. So, I'm very sorry about that. But this is what happens when you office from home.
I just had a
So,
quick question though.
yes,
Yeah, how does a buyer broker agreement protects the buyer? Yeah,
great question, Tevin.
a lot
I
of
would
people
say,
don't know that.
yeah, I would say for me, first and foremost, it allows them to enter the premises to look at the property, and it
Okay,
protects them by putting them in that situation with a licensed agent whose job it is to look out for that buyer.
okay,
Meaning that as I go through a home with a buyer, I'm going to point out any defects that I see within the home. So there are a lot of properties that I show where maybe we see the foundation, maybe we see a roof leak, maybe we see soft flooring. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can come up. Having the buyer under a buyer broker creates an agency type relationship with that buyer. And it means that it becomes my fiduciary duty to protect that buyer's interests.
got it.
Yeah, it just
Brandon, do you have
yeah, I was about to say, if anything, it outlines what our responsibilities are to the buyer, and in turn, the buyer's responsibility to us. Because the main thing is with working with a real estate agent, we are all put under the golden rule, or the code of ethics as for realtors, which is we want to make sure everyone is treated fair, want to make sure a there's no wrongdoing happening. There's not we're trying to make you purchase a home that you're not going to be able to afford, or making sure that you're getting treated correctly, no matter who you are. So I that's the only other thing that I was gonna add in, is that we're people that we follow a standard. As realtors, we have to follow a standard and even go above that.
for sure? Yeah. Well, I think that that's it on our end. So I hope everyone has a blessed day. Tevin, Lee, Brandon, thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And as always, we are here to help.
Most
I can't
welcome.
speak this morning. Sorry.
All
um.
right.
So yeah.
Well, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day too.
All right. Bye, guys.
Same to you, Brandon.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Have a good one, guys.
You guys have a great
Bye.
week.